Investigating Flora by Banjo Paterson, Andrew Barton. 'Twas in scientific circles that the great Professor Brown had a worldwide reputation as a writer of renown. He had striven finer feelings in our natures to implant by his treatise on the morals of the red-eyed bulldog ant. He had hoisted an opponent who had trodden unawares on his reasons for bare patches on the female native bears. So they gave him an appointment as instructor to a band of the most attractive females to be gathered in the land. 'Twas a latest science circle, just the latest social fad for the nicest people only, and to make their rivals mad. They were fond of science rambles, to the country from the town, a parade of female beauty in the leadership of Brown. They would pick a place for luncheon and catch beetles on their rugs. The professor called 'em optera. They called 'em nasty bugs. Well, the thing was bound to perish, for no lovely woman can feel the slightest interest in a club without a man. The professor hardly counted he was crazy as a loon, with a countenance suggestive of an elderly baboon. But the breath of fate blew on it with a sharp and sudden blast, and the latest science circle is a memory of the past. There were 22 members, mostly young and mostly fair, who had made a great excursion to a place called don't know where, at the crossing of Lost River, on the road to no man's land. There they met an old selector, with a stockwhip in his hand, and the sight of so much beauty sent him slightly off his nut, so he asked them, smiling blandly, would they come down to the hut? "I am come," said the professor, in his thin and reedy voice, "to investigate your flora, which I feel is very choice." The selector stared dumbfounded, till at last he found his tongue. "To investigate my flora? Oh, you howlin' Brigham Young. Why, you've 22 women, reg'lar slap-up women, too. And you're after little Flora, and a crawlin' thing like you. Oh, you Mormonite gorilla. Well, I've heard it from the first that you wizened little fellers is 100 times the worst. But a dried-up ape like you are, to be marchin' through the land with a pack of lovely women, well, I cannot understand." "You mistake," said the professor, in a most indignant tone, while the ladies shrieked and jabbered in a fashion of their own. "You mistake about these ladies. I'm a lecturer of theirs. I am Brown, who wrote the treatise on the female native bears. When I said we wanted Flora, what I meant was native flowers." "Well, you said you wanted Flora, and I'll swear you don't get ours. But here's Flora's self a-comin', and it's time for you to skip, or I'll write a treatise on you, and I'll write it with the whip. Now I want no explanations, just you hook it out of sight, or you'll charm the poor girl somehow." The professor looked in fright. She was 6 feet high and freckled, and her hair was turkey red. The professor gave a whimper, and threw down his bag and fled, and the ladies' science circle, with a simultaneous rush, traveled after its professor, and went screaming through the bush. At the crossing of Lost River, on the road to no man's land, where the grim and ghostly gum trees block the view on every hand, there they weep and wail and wander, always seeking for the track, for the hapless old professor hasn't sense to guide 'em back. And they clutch at one another, and they yell and scream in fright as they see the gruesome creatures of the grim Australian night. And they hear the mopokes hooting, and the dingoes howl so dread, and the flying foxes jabber from the gum trees overhead, while the weird and wary wombats, in their subterranean caves, are a-digging, always digging, at those wretched people's graves. And the pike-horned Queensland bullock, from his shelter in the scrub, has his eye on the proceedings of the ladies' science club.